This thing is deadly, and it's a 1-bar build? Hey guys, it's Dan, and welcome back to Unified Gaming. So in this one, I want to break down my 1-bar PvP nightblade build for the current patch. This thing is insane. It has really high damage, phenomenal sustain, and truly feels like a nightblade on a 1-bar build. As always, I'm going to go through and break down everything you need to know, the skills, the race, the munders, all that good stuff, so you can make this yourself. And if you do like these videos and you want to see more, make sure that you do like and you are subscribed. It tells me and YouTube you want to see this stuff. And leave a comment to let me know what you think. A quick TLDR about this build: it is an Oakensall build, so we do need access to High Isle and Greymore, but ESO Plus has most of this. And as always, a massive thank you to everyone over at Patreon who helps support to make these videos possible. If you want to support, there's details down below, and you get access to exclusive perks and additional content over at patreon.com. So what are we doing? For this, we are a Dark Elf. A Dark Elf is a really good race because it gives us magicka and stamina, flame resistance, and weapon and spell damage. You might also notice that in the video I am a Khajiit as well. I have tried both races and they both work equally well. The Khajiit has higher critical hits, but less consistent damage, with slightly more sustain. The Dark Elf has higher resources, higher consistent damage with slightly less crits, but you are tankier because of the flame resistance against DKs and stuff. So for me, they're both really good options. If you're in neither of these races, Orc, High Elf work really well, but in all honesty, most races will be fine on this build. As for our stats, we have 8 points in magicka, 37 in health, and 19 in stamina. We're aiming for around 30,000 health and about 20,000 stamina with everything else in magicka. If your race is different, you can play around with this, but do aim for the health first, it is needed. You might notice the main resource pools like magicka and stamina are a bit low, but our regens climb ridiculously high. When we're buffed up, we have over 2,500 magical recovery, and when we're fully buffed with stam regen, it's over 3,000, so it is insane. Our damage also creeps up really high. For our Mundus stone, I am using the Lover Mundus. This gives you extra penetration, it's really good. I would highly recommend this over anything else, but you can change it if you want to. As for the consumables, I use Smoked Bear Hunch. This is a really good food. It's health, stamina and magical recovery. You get health regen, it's not great, but it's a really good regen food. You could use a cheaper version, which is Jewels or Mistral. This is cheaper, it does almost the same stuff, but it's a lot less, so this is a really good option as well. And potion wise, I use tri-stat potions on most of my builds because it covers every basis, and this is no exception. It's health, magicka and stamina, so if you get low on something, just pop one of these and roll dodge and you're good to go. You could, however, go with more specialised potions like Essence of Immovability, but they do cost quite a bit of money. And you might notice that at the top left I have a ridiculous amount of money. I really don't have that on live. I am really skint on live, so I'm making this part of the video on the PTS so I can gold everything min-maxed. So I would recommend Jewels and Mistral if you want to actually play this affordably. So yeah, but if you want to support, I am on PCNA, there's details down below as I've said. As for the skills, what are we doing? With being a 1-bar build, you have 5 skills and an ultimate, so we need to think carefully about how we set this up. We've got a spammable and an execute, a burst heal, a kind of movement type skill, a heal over time, and an ultimate. What we're doing for this is Concealed Weapon, Killer's Blade, Shrewd Offering, Shadowy Disguise, Resolving Vigour, and Incapacitating Strike. By having all of these skills, we cover everything we need pretty much. The only thing we do lack is Snare Immunity, but you can change Vigour if you want for that, or you can even change Killer's Blade, but you don't have the Execute. I found these 5 skills were the best way to play this build and just gave me kind of the most versatility in a range of combat situations, so I would recommend these. I do get asked, can I swap Killer's Blade and use Grim Focus and then pick a morph of my choice? If you were to pick one, going with the Merciless Resolve hits harder, so that's good. I'll go with Relentless Focus, because it does cost stamina and it's easier to maintain. If you use this, although you have this massive total of like 17k unbuffed and you go to like 20k buffed, the Killer's Blade is actually better. So I prefer this because it hits harder and it's more consistent. You can spam it when they're low health. So this is definitely a better way to go. But this can work in some situations, so do consider this. You might also go, what about using Executioner? Executioner is cheaper than Killer's Blade, but it doesn't heal you. Killer's Blade costs a tiny bit more stamina, but you get a big heal at the end of it, so it's kind of why wouldn't you do this, basically. It's free healing. So this is a really good one to use. As for the rest of the skills, they can stay as they are. Concealed Weapon gives us movement speed. It also sets them off balance if we flank, and we also get 10% damage when we come out sneak. Really good, just damage boost. I have tried the other morph of this, Surprise Attack, and that was hit and miss. I ran out of stamina very quickly, and it didn't feel like I was doing much more, if any, damage, even though I was getting like 2 crits in a row. So I would personally go with this morph. I think it's better overall. And then for Vigor, this is our heal over time. You can't change this. The one thing you may want to change is Cloak, but I kept it because I like playing that invisible type of Nightblade, in and out roll about, going Cloak, all that good stuff. If you want to change this though, you could go down to the Vampire, go down to Mist Form, and then get Elusive Mist. This is like Streak, it's like a teleport, it's really good. It also gives you Major Evasion, which means you take less AoE damage from ultimates and stuff. Alternatively, you could go down to the Sigic Order and go down to Race Against Time. This gives you Snare Immunity, so it's really good to get away from DKs and stuff. But personally, I would just stick with Shadowy Disguise and just learn to move around DKs. You will be okay. Quick thing with some of the passives to note. You want to try and keep an assassination skill on here, so Hemorrhage. This gives you just bonus crit damage. I would recommend using In-Cap always, but if you want to change it, you can try. And then if you go down to your Vampire passives, you want to get Undeath. This makes you really tanky. It's why we have 30,000 health. Without this, we are squishy. This is a must. We then have Straight from the Shadows, which is bonus damage from Sneak and from Invisibility and Mist Form, so really good. And we can also sneak quickly without being slowed, and we can get in Sneak faster. So being a vampire is just a must. Another important thing to get, if you can, is Alchemy to level 50, and get medicinal use, as you do get longer potion buffs. Really, really useful there. And I did mention briefly, but if you have missed it, in the Undaunted skill line, get Undaunted Metal if you can. It's extra resources. We are 5-1-1, so we get 6% Magicka, Stamina and Health, and this is really helpful. So I would recommend getting this. Now, I'm going to go through the gear and stuff in the CP in just a moment. But if you are liking this video, then do leave a like, do comment, and let me know down below. And make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on future content. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone over at Patreon who helps make these videos possible and get access to exclusive content, build guides, all that good stuff in simple formats. If you want to support myself, there's details down below, and there will be follow-up gameplay exclusive to Patreon going up after this video. As for the sets, what are we doing? We are using Stygian. Stygian is a really good set. It's weapon damage, penetration and weapon damage. This is a just great set. We use Sharpened on this, and we use double dot poisons. You can use different poisons if you wish, but I prefer the extra pressure. I then use one piece of Magma Incarnate, Wretched Vitality, and Oakensoul. With how this is laid out, we have Stygian Maul, Magma Incarnate Head, Wretched Vitality Chest, Arm Crops of Wretched Vitality, Sash of Wretched Vitality, so that's light armor, Stygian Braces, Legs of Wretched Vitality, and Boots of Wretched Vitality. We then have Stygian Neck, and Oakensoul Ring. The traits on these is Sharpened on the Maul. We then have 4 Impen, so 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 3, and 4 Well Fitted. So you can mix 4 Well Fitted with 3 Impen, or 3 Impen with 4 Well Fitted. I personally prefer the extra piece of Well Fitted, and if you need a bit more bulk because you kind of die a bit quick, then go with more Impen and that will help. Kind of see it as Well Fitted as kind of active defense where you have to do something to stay alive, whereas Impen is passive defense where you stay alive without doing anything. So if you find you die quickly, you just go all Impen, it will really help you. For the glyphs, we have Tri-Stat on the head, the chest and the legs, and Stamina on all the other pieces. The jewelry glyphs are weapon damage, and you might notice it has some stam regen. These are brand new glyphs, they've been updated, so this is just physical weapon damage glyph with a bit of stam regen on it. So that's what those glyphs are for those people curious. I've gone with all infused on the jewelry, which gives us slightly bigger heals, which is nice. But if you want to eke out even more damage, you could go to a transmutation station and go to the jewelry and change them to Bloodthirsty. This will give you higher damage overall against players, but you have slightly smaller healing. There's not much less healing, but it is less. You could do a mix as well. If you, 1 bloodthirsty, 2 infused is also a good option, or 2 and 1, so you can play around with these. The final thing is the champion points. For the champion points, I would recommend on the blue ones to use Ironclad, makes us tankier, Deadly Aim, Master at Arms, and Fighting Finesse. With Fighting Finesse, you might notice that we are not using Backstabber. If you go with full Backstabber, you get 10% if you flank, or you get 8% always. So I would rather just have the always higher crits and have just 2% less damage. It's more consistent. With the red ones, we are using Celerity, Survival Instincts, Pain's Refuge, and Sustained by Suffering. If you want to change Survival Instincts, you can. This just makes roll, dodge, block, break free cheaper, so it's quite a good one to have. But if you want to change this, you can change this to anything of your choice. And then the green ones, I'm using Rationer and Liquid Efficiency to save gold, Steve's Blessing to move around when I'm out of combat quickly, helps you get back in the fight fast, and Sustaining Shadows is a very useful passive, just makes your sneak really cheap. Talking of that, if you can get up your Lagerda main in the world skill, so you get sneak reduction here, so you can drop this if you wish. I've left it on because I like to stack them together and you sneak really cheaply, as you can see. Like my stamina is barely going down. So it's a really good way just to save resources. But that there, guys, is the build. That's everything you need to know. If you get any questions about this, let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to see more footage from this build itself, there's loads over at Patreon, exclusive for people there. And as always, I'm going to say thanks just to everybody that has supported so far on the channel, whether it's likes, subscribes, whether it's support on Patreon. It really, really helps and helps make these videos possible. But I'm going to wrap this one up here. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care and bye.